Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. Here's your flash briefing for the week of July 8th. City Council meet for regular session Tuesday night, 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Batter up. Join the city and the Community Blood Center for a blood drive on July 15th at the city's maintenance facility from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. All participating donors will receive a Royals t-shirt while supplies last. The Community Blood Center relies on volunteer donors to supply life-saving blood and blood components to area hospitals. Approximately 600 units of blood are needed daily to meet the needs of area hospital patients. The time to donate is now. Register on the city's website. If you've ever been interested in learning more about the daily operations of our Lee Summit Police Department, here's your chance. The Citizens Police Academy is now accepting applications. Classes are every Tuesday night from September 10th through November 12th. Learn more and apply at cityofls.net. Stay connected with the city. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Already do and enjoy the videos you've been seeing? Then head to our YouTube page and hit subscribe to see similar content. And Jamaican Jam is back. Enjoy the sounds of reggae and Caribbean charm July 12th at the Legacy Park Amphitheater. This event is free. Gates open at 6 p.m. and the show starts at 7 p.m. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Also for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook. Just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station, and the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better, and that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we have doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bringing your stuff back to your locker to go home after working. This is Med 3. This ambulance just currently moved into the station from Station 7. Station 3, since we've had it built, has turned into one of our busiest stations in the city. Therefore, we wanted to provide the best care and the closest unit as we could. So we moved one of our ambulances up, and this became Med 3 for this particular instance. Out of this station, we also have Pumper 3. And that's a fire apparatus that they utilize to run the calls on this west end of the city. The last vehicle that you see is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 shift chiefs on shift every day, and they split the city. And this chief running out of this station typically covers the west and south area of the city, while our chief of Station 2 covers kind of that northeast section of our city, and they divide it up evenly.
Thank you for going on a tour with us today. If you have any other questions about the Lee Summit Fire Department, please go to our webpage at lsfire.net or follow us on Facebook at Lee Summit Fire Department.
Thanks for joining us on the tour.
I really love living in our historic downtown. I walk my dog around. The shops take her for, they do pub cups at Poppy's, so you can get ice cream with a little dog biscuit in it, which is her favorite thing in the world. My neighbors, we have block parties together. I really like how welcoming and how vibrant it is. It's an amazing place to live. Lee Summit's a really great community. I love living here, and I just wanted to try to find a way to give back, look out for my neighbors, for the community. I've always tried to be involved. Before serving on city council, I used to volunteer with AFS, which is an organization that hosts foreign exchange students. So my husband and I have hosted kids from around the world and then also volunteered with local families and schools. In my professional life, I'm a paralegal, and then in my personal life, I enjoy reading, sewing. I'm a quilter, so I just finished a log cabin quilt that I'm going to send to my aunt out in DC. I can't claim any of our council accomplishments for myself. This is always a team effort. But I am really excited about the farmers market and event space that we have coming in. It's still in the design phases, but I think it's going to be a really beautiful space, and it's going to really continue keeping our downtown thriving. It's been in progress for a long time, but I think that people are going to really love it when it's done. I think one of my top priorities is going to be attainable housing. That, for example, I've been trying to find a place for my mom in Lee Summit. And it's really challenging finding something that really works for a retiree who doesn't have a huge budget. Just trying to make it more attainable for people no matter where they're at in their lives to be a part of our community. Community is what we make it. Everybody should get involved in whatever way they can, whether that's just voting or whether it's joining a board or a commission or even running for office. What do they say? The world is run by those who show up. So get involved however you can and make a difference in the community.
I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting Monday, July 8th, 2024. May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Here.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Present.
Councilmember Rader,
Present.
First item of business, may I please have an approval of the agenda?
Vice Chair, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
Do we have any public comments?
Not aware of any tonight.
Seeing none, can I please have an approval of the Public Works Committee action letter?
Oh, go ahead, Tricia.
I would move to approve 2024-6318, approval of the June 10th, 2024 Public Works Committee action letter.
Second.
May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
Next item on our agenda is TMP-2971, an ordinance approving change order number 3 to guaranteed maximum price GMP agreement for the fire stations 4 and 5 project between the city of Lee Summit, Missouri and McCown Gordon Construction to increase the project timeline by 40 days and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same. Ms. Bloom?
Good afternoon. Sharon Bloom, Central Building Services. So this change order is not asking for money, just time. And as we know, the fire stations have opened, so we got there eventually. It just took a little more time. We had some materials that took forever to arrive, like the fire poles, which we all love, and some utility coordination problems, and gas pressure issues. I mean, we had stuff. Luckily, my clients were in no big hurry to move in. They were, but they weren't. I mean, they had fire stations to stay in. So we just continued going and got the job done. I'm asking you to approve an extra 40 days on the contract. That's it.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Thank you. So this is 40 days more, or we're done? This is just a cleanup?
It's a cleanup, yeah.
Okay.
We're in closeout. We're now dotting the i's and crossing the t's.
Okay. So we're not going to come back with any more asks for money on these fire stations. That
Correct.
part is done. This is
Correct.
just paperwork.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any more questions? I see none. Can I have a motion for approval, please?
Yes, Vice Chair. I move to approve TMP-2971, an ordinance approving change order number 3 to the guaranteed maximum price GMP agreement for the fire stations 4 and 5 project between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and McCown Gordon Construction to increase the project timeline by 40 days and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
I don't see Councilmember DeMoro if he has a question at all. Are we supposed to see him on here? Oh, you guys can see, oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is TMP-3038, an ordinance approving change order number 6 to the agreement for the Chipman Road Improvements from View High Drive to Bent Tree Drive project number 73 between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Emery Sapp Sons, Inc. to increase the project timeline by 155 calendar days and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Good afternoon. Perry Allen, Construction Manager, Public Works. Bring before you a time adjustment change order for 155 calendar days to account for a large series of utility conflicts that we needed to adjust. It actually slowed down our progress on the Chipman Road project. This is not for money. These are for just time only. And the impacts carried the job from really beginning work from the June-July period all the way till after the first of the year. So now we're full tilt on the job, but that 155 days would be compensation for the delays caused to our contractor for the project.
Thank you. Do I have any questions? May I have a motion for Councilmember Carlisle?
Thank you. I would move TMP-3042, an ordinance, TMP-3038, an ordinance approving change order number 6 to the agreement for the Chipman Road Improvements from View High Drive to Bent Tree Drive project. Project number 73 between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Emery Sapp Sons, Inc. to increase project timeline by 155 calendar days and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same. Be sent to council with approval.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
The motion passes. And next on our agenda is TMP-3042, an ordinance approving a utility agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Evergy Missouri West, Inc. for facility relocation in the amount of $292,602.34 pursuant to the Pryor Road Improvement from Hook Road to Longview Road Project and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Hi, Sarah Boschert, Senior Staff Engineer. So this is the first of 2 items I have tonight related to the Pryor Road Improvements project between Hook and Longview. This first one is an agreement between the city and Evergy. As we were working through the design of the project, several areas where Evergy's facilities were determined to be in conflict with the planned improvements. And some of those areas are located within dedicated electric easements. And so this agreement is just for those portions of the relocations that are in the dedicated electric easements, because the city is responsible for paying for those relocations. And so this agreement will allow Evergy to move forward with the relocations related to the project. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any questions? Seeing none, can I have a motion for approval, please?
Vice Chair, I move to approve TMP-3042, an ordinance approving a utility agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Evergy Missouri West for the facility relocation in the amount of $292,602.34 pursuant to the Pryor Road Improvements from Hook Road to Longview Road Project and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
motion passes. And next on the agenda is TMP-2991, an ordinance approving an STP-Urban Program Supplemental Agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Pryor Road Complete Streets Improvement Phase 1, Hook Road to Longview Road Project, Commission Project Number STB-3038 and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Hi, Sarah Boschert, Senior Staff Engineer. So this is also related to the Pryor Road Improvements project. This is a supplemental agreement between the city and MoDOT. The city previously entered into an agreement with MoDOT to accept federal funding for this project, the original amount being $3.93 million. Since that time, the city has submitted for additional federal funding, and MoDOT has approved an additional $10 million for the project. For a total amount of $13.93 million in federal funding. This supplemental agreement just allows the city to accept the additional funds for the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any questions? Seeing none, may I please have a motion for approval?
Vice Chair, I would move to approve TMP-2971, an ordinance approving an STP-Urban Program Supplemental Agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Pryor Road Complete Streets Improvements Phase 1, Hook Road to Longview Road Project. Commission Project Number STBG 3378, open paren 403, closed paren, and authorizing the mayor to execute the same. Be sent to the full council for approval.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
The motion passes. And next on the agenda is TMP-3023, an ordinance awarding bid number 2024-082 for a 1-year contract with 4 potential renewal periods of 1 year each for street light and traffic signal services to Custom Lighting Services LLC DBA Black McDonald, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same. Mr. Persing?
Good evening, Council. John Persing, Staff Engineer with Public Works. This contract is our on-call streetlight traffic signal contract. It allows us to react. It's mostly for pole knockdowns when somebody runs over a pole. But it gives us capabilities beyond what our operations can do in case they need assistance there. So, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free.
Thanks, Vice Chair. Mr. Persing, tell me so I can understand. So are these the cost of doing this? Is that reviewed every year? It says to have 4 potential renewal periods, 1 year each for the streetlight. So is that, do you go back and review costs, or did the costs stay the same, or how does that work?
So there is provisions in there that they can adjust prices each year. And each year, we're evaluating them with their responsiveness and how good of a job they do. And if they're doing satisfactory work for a satisfactory price, then we'll keep the contract going, and it just keeps us from having to administrate the contract every year and go out for a new RFP to do that every year just to get the same pool of applicants. So
as long as they're doing a good job, we keep them.
correct. Yeah.
Any additional questions? May I please have a motion for approval?
Vice Chair, I move to approve TMP-3023, an ordinance awarding bid number 2024-082 for 1-year contract with 4 potential renewal periods of 1 year each for street light and traffic signal services to Custom Lighting Services LLC DBA Black McDonald, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
Second.
May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
The motion passes. Next on the agenda is TMP-2979, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2024-065 for professional engineering services for the alignment study of Scherer Parkway Parkway, Scherer Parkway, and Longview Boulevard by and between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Lochmueller Group, Inc., for an amount not to exceed $686,365, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same.
John Persing, Staff Engineer, Public Works. This item is for engineering services for our alignment study of Scherer Road, which will go from 291 all the way over to Sampson for Scherer, and then we'll also be looking at a new parkway that will go through most of the PRI land down there that is still to be developed. So this study, it'll give us our alignments, both horizontal and vertical alignments for the road. It'll determine where the intersection will be for the new parkway and Scherer. And it'll also include Longview, an alignment for Longview from Longview down to Hook. And it'll look at that. The parkway will intersect with, we have right-of-way for Hook Road interchange at 291. And so this will get those alignments, and we'll also engage stakeholders, including the school district, PRI, the public at large. And this will be part of we have the capital improvement project slated for later to do Scherer Road from 291 all the way to Sampson. That'll be a city-funded CIP project, while the rest of it, and Longview is also a CIP project from Scherer up to Longview, and the rest will be driven by development, and developers will do it. But this will set aside, we'll know where the right-of-way needs to be and those kind of things. So if you have any questions, feel free.
Thank you. Do I have any questions? Operator?
Thanks, Vice Chair. In the study, so does the study include like the drawings, the engineering drawings?
Oh, no, it'll stop short of full engineering design. This will be more schematic in nature, I guess you could say, as far as setting aside the right-of-way. So there'll be another RFQ that'll come out that will do the actual engineer drawings. So this will, because it incorporates the parkway and the CIP stuff. So the CIP projects will create drawings for those, but the city won't create drawings for the parkway. Those will be development driven. But this study will kind of show us where it all needs to intersect and kind of looks at it holistically for the whole area before we start down design.
And how long do you think that will take? Have they given you a timeline?
For this alignment study, we're anticipating having it done probably right after the holidays, so early 25.
And then at that point, then you'll decide at what the time frame for when you're going to start doing the engineering and.
So at that point, we'll go out for another RFQ for the actual CIP project, probably from 291 over to where the interchange will be. For the parkway, where we anticipate it. Well, I mean, we'll do what kind of makes sense. We'll see what the alignment study puts out, and then that first phase, we'll go out for an RFQ and actually do the engineering design for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Well, I have a question, and I know it doesn't flood super often, but will this kind of look at, and I know it's a MoDOT, I know 291 is MoDOT, but will it kind of look at the flooding that we've been having at Hook and 291 at all?
I don't believe so.
No, this project, it won't get into that level of engineering analysis to look at the future interchange at Hook and 291. I think as Mr. Persing said, this is just an alignment study, set the right-of-way width so we know as development comes forward, any development, could be PRI or any other adjacent property owner, we know what the expectations are for a future road. And it also then sets the stage for where that intersection is with Scherer Road. And we have a funded capital project. As soon as this alignment study is done, to begin working towards those construction drawings, we'll go out with another RFQ, select a consultant to begin designing Scherer Road from 291 west. And it's likely to be broken into separate phases, a phase from 291 to, say, Ward, or perhaps where it intersects Scherer Parkway. And, from that intersection at Scherer Road and Scherer Parkway, it goes down to the new interchange that you're referring to. So on that new alignment, it'll just basically know that we're going to 291, but without doing a lot of additional engineering to say what is the impact down at 291, and are there other improvements regarding stormwater that can be made as part of a future interchange job.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? May I please have a motion for approval?
Vice Chair,
Member Carlisle?
I would move TMP-2979, an ordinance approving the award of RFQ number 2024-065 for professional engineering services for the alignment study of Scherer Road, Scherer Parkway, and Longview Boulevard by and between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and Lochmueller Group, Inc. for an amount not to exceed $686,365 and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for the same be sent to full council with approval.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
That passes. And next on our agenda is TMP 2990, an ordinance approving a supplemental transportation alternative funds program agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the 3rd Street from Blue Parkway to Jefferson Street project, Commission project number TAP-3038 and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Hi, still John Persing, Staff Engineer, Public Works. This item is for a supplemental agreement for TAP funds from MoDOT for the 3rd Street from Jefferson to Blue Parkway project. They had a reallocation of funds. There was some other communities that didn't use theirs, so they had some extra money, and they did us, and we get it. Yeah, so this gets us an extra $300,000 some for 3rd Street. So.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Vice Chair. So when do we think we're going to have that completed?
We'll have it started probably sometime around the holidays this year. We're going to Raymond to bid it around the 1st of October.
You're going to be busy at the holiday.
I can answer a little bit to that degree. So we will have the project obligated and ready this fall to begin construction before this year is over. It will be done in one full construction season. So imagine next summer is when a lot of that work will happen, not a whole lot over the winter. But it should be done before, I would guess, around October of next year, completely done.
So this project isn't involved with the one that they've been working on forever and ever?
All the activity you're seeing is the same project,
Okay.
but that is work being done by the utilities. The utilities are setting new poles or taking down old poles. You had AT&T that was out there for a better part of a year or longer, providing fiber duct banks. And so all those utilities are getting out of the way in preparation for the road reconstruction.
Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Nope. May I please have a motion for approval?
Vice Chair, I move to approve TMP 2990, an ordinance approving supplemental transportation alternative funds program agreement between the City of Lee Summit, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for 3rd Street from Blue Parkway to Jefferson Street project, Commission project number TAP-3038 and authorizing the mayor to execute the same.
Second.
Daydream.
I have a motion and a second. May I please have a roll call?
Chairman DeMauro,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pryor,
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle,
Aye.
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
And the motion passes. The last item on our agenda is 2024-6362 discussion. Initial discussions and process related to renaming the Lee Summit Municipal Airport.
All right, good evening, Joel Arrington, Airport Manager. I can tell you I'm really excited to be up here tonight to talk to you guys about this. This is something that, all the time I spent here with, John over the last 8 years, I guess, and seeing the runway improvements coming, we thought that this time would come at some point, and I guess it's going to fall on my shift, so anyways, we're really excited to talk about this. And this is just the first of many discussions that I'm sure we're going to have as we move through this process. So today I'm just going to try and briefly lay out the process and highlight some of the preliminary work. that needs to take place in advance of any internal discussions with Public Works, City Council, and so forth. Just kind of give you a roadmap of where we're going with this. What I'd like to do is give you a little bit of background first, just to educate everybody about airports and airport names and how they work. I did a little bit of research over the weekend, and just really out of curiosity. I mean, I kind of had an idea of what I was going to find, and it was pretty close. I looked at all of the public use airports in the state of Missouri, and then by my best count, we came up with in between 75, maybe 85 airports within just the state of Missouri. And of those, 40 had municipal in the name. And that's about what I thought that I was going to find, about half. Others were named after people and cities and so forth. So most of these airports are very, very rural. We're in the Kansas City area. We're the only one in the Kansas City area that's named municipal. Most of these are rural areas serving one locality, and that works for them most of the time. They're only, people flying into Sedalia are only going to go to Sedalia. They're not going to go to generally anywhere around there, so it's okay for them to say municipal. However, in the industry, corporate pilots understand that municipal airports generally mean something that's rural. So it paints a very stereotypical image for them in their mind. So when they see municipal, they automatically think, limited services, limited staff, limited resources, limited amenities. They just the very, very basic. A lot of these airports, some have staff and some don't. And so what happens is when a corporate flight department or a charter company looks at flying into something like Kansas City, they look at the airports first. And when they run across a name or an airport name with municipal in it, they have a tendency to just pass over that because of the preconceived conception that I'm not going to take the CEO of McDonald's into there. We're going to take him into something else. All right. So a little bit now about the Lee Summit Airport. In 2018 was really when things got really, really rolling. We had finished the runway based on business demand. We were getting calls, and they were making a lot of requests of us. They wanted de-icing. They wanted all of these things because now we had the runway length. Now they wanted these amenities, right? And so over the last 5 or 6 years, we have been ramping up our service. We've been ramping up our amenities. We've got Hangar 2, which is on its way, which is going to be the envy of the Kansas City area as far as hangars go whenever it gets built. We've got 7-day-a-week concierge service, which is what all the major FBOs at the downtown and the KCI airport have. We can now de-ice any type of aircraft, and we can de-ice the runway. So we've made significant investment to help attract them. And we still get the calls today from flight departments of, hey, do you guys have staff? Do you have fuel trucks? Do you have, these services? And we have to educate them at that time that, we do. So one of the big questions I know is going to come up amongst, city council is why change the name, right? We get that a lot. It's like there's two crowds. There's one crowd that's fully on board, and there's another crowd that's why. And really, I can just kind of break it down to about three points for you. First of all, it's a key component of our business plan. It's really a key component to making the airport financially self-sustaining, which is what we all want. Second, we need a name that better identifies where we are geographically in what region that we serve. So right now, Lee Summit Municipal, when you look at it, you're thinking Lee Summit, right? I'm from a very small town in northeastern Oklahoma, and I could tell you the name, and you're probably not going to remember it and won't be able to spell it, I can guarantee you. But generally, when I say where I'm from, I just say I'm from Tulsa. And that's because everyone knows about where Tulsa is. And a lot of our customers that are flying in, I'm going to give you a number here in just a little while, but I think you'll be surprised at the number of guest traffic that we have, or transient traffic that that we call it, that come in and do business elsewhere. I'll give you that number here in just a few minutes. And the other thing is we need a name that better describes the services that we provide. I'm going back to that municipal, again, it doesn't say we do, the whole gamut of things. And we just need a name that when they see it, they understand immediately that, we're serious about this. So again, just a high-level goal is just to develop a better name that just represents, the level of service and amenities that we have, and that we are truly a gateway to the Kansas City region. Big concert here the other night, and I can tell you the main act was in our lobby. So that's who we serve. Those are our customers. He's from Tennessee, but he flew in, to Lee Summit and did business in Kansas City. So just a little bit of history about the airport. Just a little bit of growth history on the airport. In 2018, we did 58,000 gallons of Jet A sales. And just to illustrate the growth, in 2024, we're going to do 356,000. That's as of June 30th of this year. And 75% of the jets that you see coming into our airport aren't from here. They're not based here. They don't live here. They're flying in to do business here. So a lot of this growth that you see in fuel sales are coming from people coming into the region doing business. So some of the preliminary work that is going to take place with this. First of all, we need to narrow down some names, and in the packet, we've got a few in there that you can look at. And obviously tonight, if you have any comments, please let me know. And there'll be other times to do this. We will engage with other aviation agencies here in the Kansas City area to get their thoughts and opinions on what we should name the airport. We obviously don't want to rock the boat with any of the other aviation departments and cause a problem for the city. We will be having plenty of discussions with the FAA on the naming. We're already working with Creative Services on colors and logos and those types of things, which we want to get a better picture together for you before we present that to you. And we'll obviously talk with our local pilots and get their input on some names. And then one thing to keep in mind is that before any of this can happen, before we settle on a name, whenever we submit that final name to the FAA, it has to be accompanied by a ordinance or a resolution from City Council approving the name change. So, as we're going through this process, if you hear that, oh, hey, they're changing it to this, no, there's a process. And so City Council will have the final say on what that name will be. And because this is a discussion, if you guys have any comments or feedback or questions for me, I'll take them.
Any questions? Rader?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, so what do you know what kind of, well, let me ask it this way. So when these planes are flying into Kansas City, business planes are flying in, I see them all the time.
Sure.
I think they're very cool. But are they doing business locally here in Lee Summit, or are they just flying in and then, do you know?
It's very hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes we will get to know them, and they'll be doing, and we'll know that they're doing business here in Lee Summit. The majority of them, though, I think are going outside of Lee Summit. We do see a lot of Independence. We see a lot of Harrisonvilles. We see, just the kind of the geographic area. It's not all in Lee Summit, though. I would say the majority of it is outside of Lee Summit.
So can you give us a sneak peek on some names that are flying around out there, or is that just?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So in the packet text, there are also some names, so you can go back. But kind of the names that over the past few months have kind of floated to the top. The first one is Kansas City Regional. The next one is Greater Kansas City Regional. I think I already know what's going to, yeah. Lee Summit Regional. And then Kansas City Regional at Lee Summit.
Yeah, I don't want to Kansas City. We're not Kansas City, we're Lee Summit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are some that I had named, and there are some others I think in your packet that are also there.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember DeMoro?
Thank you, Vice Chair, and Joel, thank you very much for your presentation. I know we've discussed this before, and the whole business plan and everything, and we certainly have reached a level that we need to start identifying our airport as a major player in the Kansas City area, and that goes without saying that the name change will facilitate that. I do think that, and I think I probably said this before on the dais when we've discussed this, I don't like the name Kansas City in the proximity of renaming. I was always on board when we talked about either a Lee Summit Regional or an Eastern Jackson County Regional, and that gives people not only the title regional, so they do know we do offer the services that they would probably require, but also it keeps it in proximity of our location. And by the way, the timeline, I think is we should have done this a while back. I don't know. I think we probably talked about if we're losing any business because of that. And it goes without saying in your presentation, when you said we still have the municipal name on it, we probably are, because people probably don't even consider us. But just throwing it out there, Eastern Jackson County Regional or Lee Summit Regional, I know there will be a lot of other comments and probably suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, just including the name regional in the name will significantly help. It will indicate that we plan on serving a large area, and so there are a lot of other airports in metropolitan areas that are also named regional. So I think regional is definitely a good fit. Now there will be, just for full transparency, we looked at kind of the timing of this and when is a good time for this to take place. And in addition to renaming the airport, there'll also be another little initiative coming along here that is renaming the FBO services. And so let me just identify what FBO services mean. That's the kind of the business side of the airport. So right now we have Lee Summit Municipal Airport. We do business as the City of Lee Summit, and so what we would like to do is rename just that business side. So we would be, let's just say it's Lee Summit Regional, right? And then the business side would be, I'm just going to throw a name out there, doesn't mean we've been thinking about this, but like Summit Aviation or Summit Jet Center or something along those lines. Not that we're trying to get away from the city. That's not the point. So don't take it the wrong way. But it just kind of plays along with the rest of the image of the airport. And so at some point we'll be presenting to you, a name for the business name, and that one is probably going to need to come first, just because we're building Hangar 2, and that will be the name that needs to go on the side of that building. But as far as timing goes, we thought with the construction of Hangar 2 that this is a good time to kind of reset the clock on renaming an airport. It's a good time to make a transition over to a new facility with a new name and a new brand.
Question for you. Sorry. Maybe you can explain a little bit how long this process takes. I think you've alluded to, taking the synergy of Hangar 2, the airport, airfield construction activity, even maybe the back end of anticipating major events like World Cup coming. So that's the timing. But how long does this process take from really now the kickoff to when we have FAA's final approval?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the airport name first. The airport name can take, I'll be honest, it can take up to a couple of years to do. Once you put it in and it gets approved, it now has to go through the whole FAA system of updating charts and approach plates, and all the FAA documentation on this airport will change, and it just takes time for that to kind of flush through. So I think this whole process could take a couple of years to do. Now the FBO name will be a very, very short process. Once we come up with the name, that's just our law department filing some paperwork with the state that we're basically doing a DBA is what it comes down to.
Well, if we're gonna take 2 years, then we better get on this chop.
Right, yeah.
Like, oh, right away.
So it won't be.
Well, I think we've made some progress tonight.
Good.
So it won't be renamed, or it will be renamed by the World Cup, you think?
Just kind of depends on how quickly we get this going, yeah. So it could potentially, yes.
So is the next discussion, will that be before council, or will that be back here again?
No, we need to kind of take this back and talk amongst ourselves, and then we'll certainly bring it back. We could bring it back to this committee again.
I think go before council so we can get it
Yeah,
going.
I think
is
so.
what I think.
And I think I want Lee Summit in the name, Lee Summit Regional. That would be okay, too. Whatever, I mean, there's probably a marketing aspect of this as well, right?
There is,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. Remember, part of the goal is to identify as where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Councilmember
Councilman,
DeMoro
yeah.
has another question.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And given the information that Joel just gave us, that it may take up to 2 years, I do recommend that we, Joel takes it back to his group and talks about it. And I would like to see if there's a pretty quick consensus with the group that wants to provide the name, or at least suggest the name, to bring it directly to council. I would be fine with bypassing the Public Works Committee if that's correct protocol, and sending it directly to the city council and get the ball rolling. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think what we can do, just based on this discussion, I think we can probably we can narrow this list down pretty small and take it to city council.
So I would just add to your list, what did I just say? Mid-America Regional at Lee Summit. And then we could be DBA, Summit AV. Look at that, just all rolls. Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, so, we look at, when we look at names of airports, not that it's not a good idea, but we do look at the length, because they will be saying this name over the radio when they're making, and so we try and keep them as short as, we try and keep them brief. That's why you don't see a lot of really long airport names.
Like the Charles B. Wheeler?
Yeah, well, and everybody just says downtown, yeah. We will actually be keeping the LXT identifier, yeah. Everyone loves it across the board, and we won't be changing that, yeah. Plus, the FAA was like, don't try and change your identifier, because it's a really hassle, yeah. Okay.
Personally, I like Lee Summit Regional a lot, but I was just going to say, is our airport tours, I recently went on a tour of the airport, and I don't know, have you been on a tour of the airport yet?
Oh, well, yeah.
Have you? Okay.
Not officially, but yeah.
It was the official tour. It was a really good tour. So I don't know if it's open. Is it open to all of us? Yeah, it was a
Got
good
my
tour.
email. Yeah, if you ever want to go on a tour, or any of the city council members want to go on a tour, feel free to just reach out to me directly, and we can get that set up for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I learned a lot. Okay, so at 3:50 today, there was a huge plane. Mm-hmm. Was that a normal plane that normally flies in? I'd never seen it
I don't
before.
know. I wasn't at the airport. I was
Okay.
I was quietly prepping for this presentation, so I didn't see what took off. So
It flew while I was
landed.
landing. It flew right over my house, but
Nice.
it just seemed bigger than what I had seen
Yeah.
before. But it may have been that big one that's landed there before. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I
all right.
didn't
Well,
see it.
thank you so much.
You bet.
Any additional questions?
Okay. Mhm.
That takes us to Roundtable.
left, but I was going to recognize Ms. Boschert will be leaving our staff after 6 years of public service. So I was going to thank her publicly and give you an opportunity to say something, but I think her agenda items were over and she was heading out back to her family this evening. So thank you to Ms. Boschert for serving the city of Lee Summit for 6 years. Parts her ways back to a different career direction. So other than that, I know we had, I'm sure you have as well, received a lot of service calls over the last week. Just to put this in perspective, there were parts of the city that received, not the entire city, but parts of the city that received extremely unusual rainfall totals. Particularly in the southwest part of the city, we had a 1%, which is once every 100 years, every year type of event that happens. And that is something that we haven't experienced here in Lee Summit. We did have a number of road closures that were deployed. We had staff that were responsive, and then another event hit again on the 4th of July, and appreciate our staff running out to address those emergencies. Flash floods are very serious matters, and they were impacting all over Lee Summit. Some areas not quite as much, like we might have only experienced a 25% type storm here in the downtown area, or something more closely to a 1 in 25 year or 1 to 50 year event. Other parts of the city and over the 4th of July up north were hit a little bit harder. And when those rainfalls come in succession so far, or so close between events, the ground is already saturated. You get a lot of backwater effects. The rivers are already flooded. The Little Blue, I believe the Missouri is still shut down because its waters are still too high. So know that we're here. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to Public Works. We can help provide you answers to your constituents' questions. And know that it's pretty widespread, and those areas that are our highest priority are where we're seeing inhabitable structures getting flooding, as opposed to areas of yard flooding. And then also just know, because of the rarity of the event, it might have been the first time somebody is calling you with water in their basement or water that's come up through the sanitary sewer lines, which is very different than stormwater coming through cracks. So know that we're there for you if you need help.
Thank you. So if somebody does have water that came up through the sanitary sewer lines, what can be done about that?
So our first call would be to the Water Utilities Department. Again, we have a separate system between stormwater and sanitary sewer lines. So if it's coming up through your toilets or your sinks or through the floor drains in your basement, that is a sanitary sewer issue where we're getting inflow and infiltration from the stormwater into the sewer pipes, and they're at capacity and backing up. That's normally what's happened, as opposed to a block in the pipe system. And Mr. Thorne can probably explain that a little bit better.
That's pretty good for a traffic guy.
Yeah, if it's not coming up through one of those sewer outlets, right, or inlets, if you will, where you're trying to flush the sewers, and it's coming through cracks or seeping through the foundations, coming through window wells, that's stormwater, obviously. And we would recommend things like check your gutters. If you have sump pumps, are they properly working to alleviate that pressure that's on your foundation from that water seeping through any crack it can find? Look at your grading away, make sure you have positive graded away from your foundations. Those are usually the first things to look at before calling in additional expert help.
We did see a limited number of backups through the last 2 storm events. They were in areas where we've known to have some in the past. The previous drought years haven't been too bad, but we were still planning projects to work forward towards them. You'll see some of those coming forward later this summer, early fall. Our West Prairie Lee Interceptor project will take care of a lot of the stuff we saw that were going on the east side of downtown. And then we've got some manhole rehab projects and that kind of stuff, where we've got some I&I in the upper reaches of the Cedar Creek Basin. So basically the west drainage of downtown in some of those areas. We also just start wrapping up the McClendon Ditch project, which would have had a whole pile of calls we would have gotten on this type of rain event from 50 Highway going west into the Cedar Creek Basin. And so that project has actually already shown some good dividends for us, because this type of rain event is exactly why we were upsizing those lines. Everybody was like, well, we don't really have any problems with it. Well, we hadn't had any severe rains in recent years, and it seems we've got a pretty short-term memory on those types of things. So while, yes, we've had some, and actually a gentleman came in here and said, I heard you would be speaking tonight. And I said, well, I hadn't been told that, but apparently he was right. And I'm meeting with him tomorrow afternoon to talk about what he experienced and that kind of stuff, and we'll visit about what that is. If somebody has that, they call us. We look at it. If they get us in the event, we go out and we check the lines to make sure there isn't an obstruction in the lines. In this case, as Michael said, we had some pretty significant rain events. And the bottom line is that the systems just aren't designed for that level of water. Even in new condition with the I&I they allow for, they just aren't designed for that level of water because we'd end up putting in very, very large pipes, which in dry seasons are just as bad as small pipes because you end up with deposition and other issues in the pipes. So we address those one way or another and move forward. We visit with the homeowners. If they have a claim, they need a claim, we have a claims process at the city we direct them to, and we just walk through it step by step and in case-by-case position. So that's what we'll do.
Thank you.
You bet.
I think downtown can't even handle a tiny bit of rain, let alone that much rain, so.
It was a lot, and we saw a little bit of impact in our system. Not as bad as it had been in prior years, but still more than we'd like. That's why we're continuing with the projects we're continuing with and approaching it in what we'd like to think is a forward-thinking fashion. Though the rain got a shade ahead of us this time. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet.
All right, well then, I guess we adjourn the meeting at 5:23.